just what Derek said. When we knew that he's, got a lot of life to his fastball, and he can really sneak up on you. You got to be able to get on top of that pitch. We knew that he threw strikes, but he was going to be around the plate. We needed to try and get him to the center of the plate as best we can. So he's an outstanding pitcher. He's as good as we've seen all year. He's going to be a really high draft pick. But everybody has a bad day, and Preston had that in the conference tournament. Tyler had it today. So sometimes, it's a combination of a good plan at home plate and a guy just not having his best day.
Probably the largest crowd TCU history out here today.
It is.
How big was that to the players and to you, Coach?
I think the guys were they were talking about it as especially the general admission section was filling in during prior to pregame infield. It was just entertaining to watch people scramble for seats and that kind of thing out there. But once the game started, we feed off the energy of that. But I know when I went out to talk to the umpire there at second base, I hadn't really paid attention to it at all. And then when I picked up and I was on the way in, I was like, a lot of people here. But it was great, and we need them all back tomorrow, especially the ones in purple.
Coach, how much confidence does an effective bullpen give you as a coach?
He was Earl Weaver, effective 3-run homer, and I'm from Baltimore, so effective bullpen. A 3-run homer and a great bullpen. All of a sudden you can really coach. That's been a big part of our program and team, and especially a guy like Trey. I was trying to get through 5 innings. I knew I would go to Trey early. I was trying to get through the 5th inning as best we could, but when Vincent came in the game, I knew he, with all the things he does really well, I knew he was going to change the course of the game for their team, and we needed to do that for ours. So had some other guys in mind, but I know we scored a lot of runs today. I thought Keaton's 2-out hit was a big one, because it took some pressure off and got us to 6-4, and then Trey just filling up the strike zone and just changing the look against those big right-handed hitters.
What was the thinking behind the Pete Rose video that Derek was talking about?
So, I know I said this to you guys yesterday. I really wanted these guys to enjoy this, and so we had a thing on. We always put something on the practice plan every day, and yesterday's was a picture of Pete Rose diving in third base and his quote about, I'd walk through hell in a gasoline suit just to play baseball. And I just wanted our guys to have that attitude. We showed them. I just pulled something off YouTube and showed Pete Rose running the first base on a walk and diving head first in the third and doing all the things that he was. And I think most of them know who he is. I guess if they didn't, they know now. And just say, hey, if we go down, let's go down like this. But I'll bet you if we play hard, at some point it's going to go in our favor.
In the 6th inning, we had a 2-run lead. We get a leadoff single. Schlossnagle comes up. In the past, I'm guessing we might have bunted like that, but you did. What was your thinking?
We don't bunt very much. We have the fewest. I think we may have. I don't know what the first stats are in here, but I think we may have like 22 scored as sacrifice hits. But I think we've only squared the bunt twice the whole season. And there's just other things we can do. With our legs. We got over 115 stolen bases maybe now, 110 going into the day, something like that. We'll hit and run. And, I'm not trying to give away our game plan. We bunted the other night against NC State, but just would rather not give up outs. And that's not me putting running that. That's our philosophy. But that's Coach Mosiello runs the offense, and so those are his decisions.
Jim, was Cody beating out the infield hit. It was kind of Pete Rose,
sure.
I guess, and then Nolan going when he took off to go to third after that stolen base.
Sure.
Did you
all those
think?
things.
Did you think he? The ball wasn't that far away.
No, it wasn't. But Blake, I think, had his back to the ball at shortstop, and it trickled away just enough, and that was a great thing. That was a big play in the game as well, and again, just more of a mentality that we're not going to hit the ball in the ballpark, although we hit a couple triples today or doubles, but that's how we have to play offense.
What were your thoughts when you're getting runs every inning early there, and you look up and you're only up 5-4?
Yeah. Well, we were lucky to have it at 4 because they had a runner at second base and nobody out in the first inning. We got out of a first and third, nobody out, or 1 out with Taylor up in whatever inning that was. And just as I said, yesterday, if you leave balls in the middle of the plate, man, they make you pay in a big way. So Tyler did that. and you have to give them credit for that as well. And then that shows you how good Tickle was. That things instantly change, and it tells you how good Preston's going to have to be tomorrow, because that's as physical of an offensive club as we've seen all season.
Alex Young was warming up in the bullpen at one point. Do you view him as an option tomorrow and possibly
No
Monday?
question. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna whatever's got to do, whatever we have to do to win one more game, and if that means Alex coming in, we'll do that.
Coach, were you afraid there might be a lull for your team after Monday night? It's kind of natural human nature.
No, I mean, we had a couple days, and they were really sore, and mentally, and if we'd had to play a game on, I was glad we played Saturday series instead of a Friday, but it took us a while to recover from. It didn't take me a while, but it took the players, Scout especially, needed some time after catching. I remember he came to practice here. He said, that's the most intense baseball I've ever been around, and so he needed that, but playing at home certainly helps.
Lineup full of lefty Schloss and Matt Kent on the mound, who's been really as good as anybody from the left side his last 3 starts. Can you kind of handicap that matchup?
Yeah, but we have 2 switch hitters in our lineup, and then the 2 right-handed hitters, so it'll be 5 and 4. But that's who we are. That's what we've seen all year. Everybody throws their lefties. Everybody, when in doubt, NC State, they threw some left-handed starters that weren't there normally. Their frontline starting pitchers. So we've seen that all year. This facility here, some of the things we are able to do in here has enabled us. And there's actually a lot of our left-handed hitters do better against left-handed pitching. So I know A&M has those splits, so they know that. But he's a great lefty. He can really pitch, and so it should be a really good battle tomorrow.
What's the impact that Trey's kind of had on the program, being a veteran guy and a guy that you can kind of bridge the gap to get to Riley when you need to, or to give you like 4 innings today?
Yeah, I mean he's far. There have been better pitchers here, but he's the most valuable pitcher since I've been at TCU. The most valuable pitcher, and he can pitch in any role. He can close a game. He certainly could have finished that. He can come in the 2nd inning. He can start, and that takes some selfless attitude to do that, because Farrell set a school record for saves, and we don't keep holds, I don't think, but Tico's been a big part of every single one of those saves for Riley Farrell, and so it's nice to see him get a chance to sit up here and talk to you guys. He's going to be really hard to replace. 5th-year senior that just pounds the strike zone and pitches with great tempo, and is a really good fielder of his position, and has no ego.
You mentioned you have different things that you can do other than bunting to move runners over and whatnot, like hitting and running. But having that is different than actually being able to have it go through. Pretty good efficiency on some of those plays today that y'all had. Is that what you saw today?
Yeah, I mean, that's how we have to play offense. It's not going to be get through a homer most of the time, especially if the wind's blowing in here. So, with the runner second base and nobody out, we call that an important play. And the players know what they have to do. They have 2 or 3 options. It's up to them. We have a lot of structure within our program, a lot of structure within our offense, but there's a lot of freedom within that structure. And so, most of the time when you see a guy bunt, he's doing it on his own. He's just choosing that as the way he wants to choose. He feels most comfortable with the current time to move that runner.
Let's do 2 last questions.
Coach, was Pete Rose one of your favorite players growing up?
I mean, I was a Red Sox fan in Orioles, so Carl Yastrzemski was my favorite player. But I certainly love watching him play, and he's a great guy. He has a coach on the field to use as an example for young guys.
Do you feel like this is the best offense you've had in the last 5 or so years, at least in the postseason? I know 2010 was pretty potent, but with the amount of hits y'all are getting each game, I mean, is this good?
Well, I think it's the most complete offense. I mean, in terms of the balance, right and left-handed hitters, guys that can run, guys can I was most pleased with how many opposite field hits we had. We stay on the baseball. So when you stay on the baseball like that, as a pitching coach, that's really hard to pitch to, because if a guy's staying on the ball, you're thinking, golly, if we throw him an off-speed pitch, he's going to stay on it and pull it. But versus a hitter that's pulling off the baseball. So Coach Mo's done a really good job of instituting that mentality. The 2010 team was a pretty prolific power hit. I think it's the most home runs in the history of the school. But this is probably the most complete offensive club, at least to this point.